Welcome to Season 2 of the 10 Mentors podcast. This is a space for honest conversations about health, work, relationships, and the habits that shape our lives. Practical wisdom you can borrow and make your own. I hope everyone had a great Christmas and settling down again for another new year. Today, we're talking about something that shapes far more of our lives than we like to admit. People imitate their atmosphere. This is a really important topic because really, this is where it starts. Because if you're struggling with habits you can't seem to break, whether that's food, drink, scrolling, distraction, or patterns you keep repeating, it's probably not because there's something wrong with you as a person. Most of the time, it's not the person that's the problem, it's the system they're living inside. We're quick to blame ourselves, to call it like a discipline, like a motivation, like a willpower. But human behavior doesn't work like that. We are shaped far more by what surrounds us than by who we think we are. That's the idea I want you to hold on to today. People imitate their atmosphere. And once you really see that, something shifts. You stop asking, what's wrong with me? And start asking, what am I living in every day? Because habits don't appear out of nowhere. They form through repetition, exposure, and what's considered normal around us. If the environment rewards distraction, we become distracted. If it rewards numbing, we numb. If it rewards excess becomes ordinary. So if you've been carrying guilt or frustration about your habits, let this be a reset moment. You're not broken, you're human. And once you understand how atmosphere works, you realize this. You don't have to become a different person to change your life. You just have to change what you're surrounded by. That's what today's episode is really about. Most of us like to believe our choices are fully our own, that if we end up with habits we don't like, it's because we lacked discipline or motivation. But that's rarely the full story. Human beings are imitators. Long before we think, we absorb tone, behavior, coping mechanisms. What's normal, what's rewarded. We become shaped by what surrounds us, often without noticing. Like, have you ever noticed how easy it is to copy what's around you? Try this sometime. Stand in a public place and look up at the sky. Just stand there and stare for a moment. Watch what happens. People nearby will start looking up too. Not because they know what you're looking at, but because humans take cues from their surroundings. Or think about cues. One person lines up, then another, then another. Most people don't ask what they're actually queuing for. They just join. The atmosphere tells them, this is what we do here. That's imitation in its simplest form. Now, imagine what happens when that same behavior plays out over months or years. If you stay long enough in an environment, whether it's constant scrolling, drinking, snacking, partying, imitation turns into routine. Routine turns into habit. And before you realize it, it feels normal. That's how atmosphere becomes behavior. And behavior becomes identity. Like sit on a train for 10 minutes and look around. Most people are on their phones, not because they urgently need to be, because it's the default. It's what everyone does. So it becomes what we do. The atmosphere is silent, heads down, thumbs scrolling, and without even thinking, you join it. And it's not just strangers. Watch your own family for a night. How often are we all in the same room but not really together? Everyone on their mobiles, half listening, dipping in and out of a conversation like it's background noise. We tell ourselves it's normal because it's common, but common doesn't mean healthy. And what worries me is how quickly it becomes a habit. You reach for your phone without deciding to. You scroll without noticing you're scrolling. You feel restless the moment there's silence. That's conditioning. That's atmosphere. So again, it's not about blaming yourself. It's about seeing the environment clearly. Because if the people around you are constantly distracted and your house is wired for constant distraction, your nervous system starts to believe that's the way life is lived. Like, I'm English. And if you're English, the pub isn't just a place to drink. It's our culture. It's where you meet friends, talk, laugh, grieve, celebrate. Growing up, going to the pub a few nights a week wasn't excessive. It was normal. That was the atmosphere. No one ever said, you're drinking too much, because the majority of people were doing it. Then I moved to many countries and eventually settled to Sweden. And without trying, I drank less. Not because I suddenly became more disciplined or health conscious, but because the environment changed. There isn't the same pub culture. There's less pubs, less drinking, so a little less pressure. Social life looks different. Drinking is less woven into everyday connection. I'm the same person, just in a different atmosphere with different behaviors. That's when it really landed for me. People imitate their environment more than they realize. And I've seen this play out in much heavier ways too. Like a friend of mine grew up with a father who was an alcoholic. He drank heavily, came home angry and violent, and the whole house lived under his rules. The kids didn't choose that environment. They inherited it. And as they got older, they started drinking too, first to numb the pain. Later, it was just normal. That's how habits pass down, unless you break the chain. I also met a man in a charity shop I sometimes work at. He is an addict to drugs and drink. His son is an addict too. A whole family tied into the same knot. He told me the only way out was to leave his town. Walk away from the pubs, the dealers, the so-called friends. Start again somewhere no one knew him. Now, of course, when we talk about addiction, we often think of drugs, alcohol, or gambling. But addiction is often sugar, carbs, or scrolling on your phone. And when you're around people who party a lot, chase thrills, numb pain by drinking, or distract themselves constantly, it's incredibly easy to get pulled into that world. Because what starts as just joining in slowly becomes routine, and that routine becomes habit. And once you're inside it, it can cling to you hard to shake, hard to see clearly from the inside. I know this about myself. If my friends were tripping, or I was surrounded by people doing magic mushrooms or psychedelics, I'd probably end up doing it too. Not because I set out to, but because humans copy what's normal around them. We want to belong. We want to be part of the moment. You see it everywhere. Like go to New Zealand and watch people line up to bungee jump or skydive. Most didn't wake up planning to leap off a bridge. They did it because everyone else was doing it. That's atmosphere at work, silently nudging behavior until it feels like your own idea. Now, you don't have to move to another country to create a better life, but you can steal good ideas from other places. I mean, have you heard of the blue zones? They are regions identified by researchers like Dan Buettner where people live long, healthy lives well until they are 90 and 100. Places like Okinawa, Sardinia, Ikaria, Nicoya, and Loma Linda. These people aren't obsessed with biohacking or willpower. Their environment and who they hang around with does the heavy lifting. They walk daily. They eat many plants with some fish and meat. They have strong social ties, purpose, and meeting people in their community. And they keep less of the bad stuff out of their cupboards. That's a few things you can apply anywhere. What's in your cupboards right now? How many times a week are you ordering fast food because it's convenient? How often are you scrolling instead of doing something more worthwhile? This doesn't mean banning chocolate forever or never having a drink again. Extremes don't last. But reduction does. Maybe fast food becomes once a week instead of 2 times a week. Maybe chocolate stays, but it's not every time you shop. Maybe you find one person to walk with a few evenings a week, an accountability partner to go to the gym with or do yoga. So, if you're trying to change your life, but your environment stays the same, you're fighting a massive uphill battle. That's why motivation fades. The environment wins. So start there. Change your atmosphere first. What's in your cupboards? What are the foods you are eating? How long are you on your phone? How are you spending your evenings with Netflix, or are you out and about? Like you could make brown bread instead of white. Do less shopping of biscuits. If it's not in the house, then it's hard to eat it. Well, at least that's how it helps me. You don't need to fix everything today. You just need to make a start and see what's influencing your environment. This is 10 Mentors. I'm Dan. Borrow what helps, leave the rest. So here's the question to take with you. What atmosphere are you living in and who are you becoming because of it? That's it for now. Take care.